Okay, you see the thumbnail. We're talking about off-season strategy. Now, I know it's not officially the off-season yet, but for the New York Giants, it's absolutely off-season. We're hiring coaches, we're firing coaches. We're in a full-on off-season mode. Now, in this video, I want to start a series. I want to talk about pretty much fixing the New York Giants. I want to talk about off-season strategy. When we get into free agency and we see all the cap casualties and stuff like that, I'll probably get into more details about specific players that the New York Giants should target. I have a few already, but I'm just saying once we know who the cap casualties are, and once that free agent list grows and we can see exactly who's on the market, what kind of numbers people are asking for, I'll get in more detail. But I want to talk about the most important position or the most important unit that the New York Giants need to address. And I'm not talking about the quarterback yet. I'm talking about the offensive line. What are the New York Giants going to do to fix this offensive line? And I have a couple of ideas. These are my ideas. Not saying that this is exactly what the New York Giants are going to do, because I don't know that. You don't know that. I'm just saying what I would do or how I would attack the offensive line. Now, the most important thing has happened already. We've already gotten rid of Bobby Johnson, and we brought in Carmen Bricillo. Now, Carmen Bricillo, I'm liking the hire. The guy has a good track record, especially recently with the Las Vegas Raiders. You got a coach that had a unit that was ranked in the top 15, top 20 to top 15 going into the season. And then at a certain point of the season, he cracked the top 10 as far as his offensive line unit. And he didn't have a bunch of first rounders, second rounders, and stuff like that. He had a couple of UDFAs and everything on the list, known to be able to develop some players like Dylan Parham, stuff like that. So I'm happy with the hire of Carmen Bricillo. So what can the New York Giants do to address this offensive line? And one of the biggest question marks on this offensive line is Evan Neal. Now, I put out a tweet yesterday, and I said, can Evan Neal be fixed by Carmen Bricillo, or can Carmen Bricillo fix Evan Neal? And here's the results of that. And as you can see, what people think about that situation. But seriously, can Carmen Bricillo fix Evan Neal? And that's a big question mark. Here's the thing. If you're able to fix Evan Neal, that solves a lot of your problems. The funny thing is, though, or the thing about that also is, we won't know that when free agency hits. We won't know that during the draft. We won't know that until the season starts, and actually until we're actually playing games probably halfway through the season. We won't know whether or not Evan Neal is fixed or not. And also, does that mean Evan Neal playing right tackle? Does that mean him being kicked into either right guard or left guard? That's a discussion that we can have, and we can actually have that discussion right now. So if Evan Neal is able to be fixed, fantastic. He becomes the right tackle for a lot of years, right? You don't have to worry about a thing when it comes to Evan Neal, if we're able to fix Evan Neal. Now, some other options that I think the Giants should look into, from past experience too, is whether or not to move Evan Neal to guard, and how long do you wait before you move Evan Neal to guard. Now, I said this before the season ended for us. I said, if we hire a new coach, then I'm willing to give Evan Neal another chance at right tackle. That's me personal. That's personal feelings. Me willing to give Evan Neal another chance. We'll see if it's Evan Neal, if it's the coach, or if it's a mixture of both. Now, we already knew everybody is in agreement when it comes to Bobby Johnson. Bobby Johnson was a problem. It was people that regressed under Bobby Johnson. So for me, I'm sitting here like, that's the first check mark. First check mark is Bobby Johnson is gone. We have a new offensive line coach. Now, it's not Bill Callahan. I understand that. And when you look at some of the firings that happened with the Browns, everybody was looking for Bill Callahan's name. Once you realize that Bill Callahan was one of the names that wasn't released from the staff of the Browns, we can stop that. Munchak is retired. It's not happening. So right now we have Carmen Bricillo. And again, let this man do what he wanted. Let this man get a chance to prove that he can improve this offensive line. So for me, I think it's a real possibility to kick Evan Neal inside the guard. Now, when we're looking at the draft that's coming up, we do have the 6th pick. And outside of the quarterback, there are a lot of ways the New York Giants can go. Now, you hear people talking about Joe Alt, and then Fashanu from Penn State, and I'm hesitant to spend high draft capital on another offensive line. And it could be Evan Neal's fault. It could be Eric Flowers' fault. It could be a lot of first round linemen that the New York Giants have drafted that didn't pan out. But those two names, pop into my mind first. I'm thinking about Eric Flowers. I'm thinking about Evan Neal. Now, Joe Alt is like a can't miss prospect. Well, Evan Neal was like a can't miss prospect. Fashano, a can't miss prospect. Well, Eric Flowers was more of a project than a prospect, but I don't think I want to do that at 6. I don't think I want to attack the tackle spot when it comes to 6, especially when there's some good second round talent at tackle. You got guys like Jordan Morgan. You got Guyton from Oklahoma. There's some guys out there that you can get in the second round, especially when we have 2 second round picks, that we can address that, later on in the draft and not the first round. Just thinking about the talent. You have obviously the quarterback. You have this wide receiver group. You have the edge. You have cornerback. All these guys, talent-wise, I feel are better value in the first round, especially at the 6th pick, than it is to get a tackle. And again, we don't know what Evan Neal is. And when I'm thinking about the team, they're going to give this guy another shot at right tackle. It's just going to happen. When you draft somebody that high, you're going to give them all the chances in the world. And I think this is going to be that last chance. You have a new coach. Hopefully they bring in a new scheme. Now, getting back to this offensive line, because I'm spending too much time on Evan Neal. We have Carmen Bricillo. The next thing is evaluating the guys that you do have on the team and deciding if the scheme that you have right now is the best scheme for the New York Giants, the best scheme for the talent. Andrew Thomas fits any scheme. We have question marks at guard. We have a question mark at right tackle, and I believe that we have our center for years to come. Now, thinking about the strength of the center, strength in the run game, passing game, I think he's pretty solid. The PFF scores were not the best, but when you think about John Michael Schmitz, you're bringing in the rookie, top of the line rookie prospect too. But just think about what's around him. The musical chairs at guard. You have Bredesen, you have Azudu, you have Lewinsky, and these guys either can't stay healthy or they're not playing good enough to be in there, or it's a bad situation. McKeithen is another name. Where is you need to build chemistry when it comes to the offensive line, and we haven't even got a chance to do that. All mini camp, all training camp, you're rotating guys, and I understand you're trying to find the best fit. Nobody won the spot, that's why they keep. But at some point in time, you have to pick one of these guys. Bobby Johnson, you have to pick one of these guys, and you have to let the offensive line gel. Not everybody's going to be great on the offensive line. It's not the 90s Dallas Cowboys. It's not that right now. You don't see too many teams that have multiple All-Pros outside of Philadelphia last year that have all these good offensive linemen, who are ranked high individually. You don't see that too often, and if you're aiming for that, that's fantastic, but it's not as realistic as I think some people think it might be. So for me, you have to have that continuity. You have to build that chemistry. These guys have to play next to each other without you switching guys back and forth. Now, one knock on Carmen Bricillo that I hear a lot is that, he follows that same philosophy of versatile linemen. And yes, I understand how that makes people feel. I feel the same way. But here's the thing. If you have a starting unit, starting 5 guys, you found you're not rotating those guys once you get your 5. You're not rotating people once that happens. So yes, you want to build that versatility in case somebody gets injured and you have to move and shuffle pieces around. But once, it's not like you're doing it just to be doing it. It's either an injury or something like that happens. If you have a solid 5, not 5 All-Pros, not 5 Pro Bowlers, if you have a solid 5, a solid unit working together, that's all you need. One guy can be an A, one guy can be a B, another guy can be a C. It don't matter. If you're working as a unit, you're giving yourself a good shot. Yes, I would want all A's, A's and B's, but that's just not something that's going to happen. It's not feasible. It takes years to do something like that. And You see, the New York Giants have been working on this line for 10 years. I don't have that type of trust yet. Shane's been here for 2 drafts. We'll see what happens. 2 free agencies. We'll see what happens. But there's different ways to address this off. Like Ezeudu, can Brussillo get the best out of Ezeudu? Possibly. But I think the New York Giants go into free agency looking for a guard. Now, there's some guards on the market. Again, you see the thumbnail. I have 3 guys there. One guy is one that I believe that we're going to cut to make room. That's Mark Glowinski. And I understand that creates another hole because you're getting rid of Glowinski, but you're saving like $7 million. But another guy is a kid from New England who was developed under Carmen Brussillo, and that's Mike Onwenu for the Patriots. Now, this is a guy, one of those guys that's versatile. Plays guard, plays tackle. Has the body type of a guard. I think he'll be a good target. He's not making a lot of money. He's in for a payday, but he's definitely a target on this list. Why? Because he got Carmen Brussillo. He's familiar with him. If he signs off on, I'm pretty sure the New York Giants will go after a guy like that. You have guys like Dalton Risner, who has that 1-year deal with Minnesota. You know, he's going to be available. Actually, let me get my list, because you know I do good with my handy dandy notebook. So some of the names I wrote down, I have Dalton Risner. He's 29 years old. I have Michael Onwenu, who's 26 years old. Like he's one of the top targets. That's a consensus in Giants community or Giants fan base. That's a guy to go after. Obviously, re-signing Ben Bredeson is an option, and that's probably an option that I would take. I would re-sign Ben Bredeson. I wouldn't re-sign him, pencil him in as a starter, but he's definitely good offensive line depth to have. Another guy that really didn't get any burn due to injury was Wyatt Davis. I think he's good to keep on the bottom end of the roster to develop. I think there's some talent there with Wyatt Davis, and like I said, if there's a guy that can get the best out of a player, Carmen Brussillo seems like that guy. Again, he had 2 starting UDFAs with the Raiders when they were ranked top 10 after week 15. Another familiar name we have is Cam Fleming. He has that versatility as guard and tackle, and it's funny because we made fun of him when we had him. But right now, he's looking better than what we've had in a long time. Another name is Kevin Zeitler. Depending on what happens with the Ravens, do they bring him back? The guy is older. I'm not sure what might happen with that. And I do have a couple of possible cap casualties for the offensive line. And this is not just guard. I got center Brian Allen from the Rams. I have another tackle, Joe Noteboom, who was beaten out, was a starter for the Rams, then got beaten out, making a lot of money. So they did value him at one point in time. Got hurt, was making a lot of money. So he's another guy that might be on the list. And then also one of our neighbors, the Jets, have Laken Tomlinson, who's also a possible cap casualty, but that was due to like underperformance and stuff like that, but he's making a lot of money. So there's a couple of names out there right now that we can target, but I'm just thinking about the scheme and strategy. Moving Evan Neal to guard is an option. Seeing what you can get out of him. Carmen Brussillo at right tackle as his last chance. This has to be his last chance for Evan Neal before he gets kicked inside. Right now is leaning towards bust, especially at where you picked him. You picked him at 7, so it's looking like a bust. But if you can save this man, turn him into a solid tackle or a serviceable tackle. I hate to say that. That's a win right now. That's a win right now compared to what we've been seeing. If you kick him in the guard and he ends up being a fantastic guard, and listen, if you're going to play him, I will play him at left guard and not right guard. I will put Evan Neal next to Andrew Thomas and see how they can work together as far as building that relationship. Because guess what? If it works out and you have Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal on that left side, you don't have to worry about a thing when it comes to the blind side of the quarterback. That's it. That's going to be the video. Again, I'm going to do a whole series. I was talking about the offensive line. I'll probably talk about the quarterback next. Maybe I'll say that the running back situation is going to be a pretty interesting one as well. If you look at the contracts for the running back, we only have Brightwell and Corbin under contract going into 2024. So that I'm thinking I might do running backs next to see what the strategy could be with those guys. But that's going to be the video. I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And for one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.